Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Watch. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. In this episode, we finally get to know Lady Ramkin's backstory. We had Carrot bringing it up to Sam last episode, but now we kind of get to find out what it is that Carrot ended up finding out about her. And that is that the reason why Lady Ramkin is the way she is about things, obviously why she's kind of reluctant to, wear the badge of the Watch, and why she is so gung-ho about changing people who are, criminals connected to the guild, is because her family, her parents, her mom and dad were killed by someone from the Assassin's Guild, and no one did anything about it because, it was under the protection of like, oh, this is something, it's legal because it's under, it's sanctioned under the Assassin's Guild, and there's a receipt and everything. And for her, that was a hard pill to swallow when she brought that officer back there and he was like, oh, no crime was committed. See, it's a receipt. He said it so plain and so cold-heartedly because that's the cold, hard truth of the world at that point in time. I mean, it still is. But it makes sense why she's so adamant about changing people's minds, because she's like, she said it before, I'm the only one who has an issue, because everyone else seems to just kind of go with the flow and just, well, this is the way things have been for the past 20 years. It's just kind of accepted at this point in time. But she wants to change that considering her personal circumstances. Obviously, we see that the Watch is just the members that are left, so it makes you wonder whatever happened to that particular cop. They never really went into that. I mean, what happened, I guess, over the course of the years, people have come and gone from the Watch for probably many different reasons. But like I said, it's understandable why she'd feel the way and want to, operate the way she does. But now they figured out where Gawain, the thing that they're looking for, as well as Carcer is looking for, that's connected to this dragon situation. They found it, but it's going to be in the Assassin Guild's basement. You have Lady Ramkin saying that she's going to sneak in, but obviously it's like, well, no, you can't do that. Well, you can get to like a door that connects to the place that's next door to it, but it's like, well, what's that place that's next door to it? Lo and behold, it's the Musicians Guild, which I appreciate them also expanding upon it, that there are multiple guilds. Obviously, there's the Thieves Guild, the Alchemist Guild. We see now there's the Musicians Guild, so I'm sure there's like a lot of guilds representing everything, which I think is kind of neat. But I love them kind of going undercover and everything. And even Sherry just kind of giving that almost inspirational speech of like, well, music can bring everyone to tears, the same tears and stuff like that. But it's like, we need to do this because if we don't, we kind of fail. Lady Ramkin most likely dies and the city gets destroyed by the dragon. So we're gonna make this count. They go in there and sing like a dwarven song that Carrot taught them, which was interesting because apparently at least most of the song, if not all of it, because at one point they just stopped. But it's like, it seems like the lyrics to it over and over again is just to literally say the word gold. But it was so interesting seeing them rock out, and I love that Carcer's watching everything through Sam's eyes, and it's like, wait, Wants is like, oh, did they find the artifact? It's like, no. He's like, they started a band. I love his like confusion on that. At the same time, you have Lady Ramkin making her way through the Assassin's Guild and runs across, what was his name? I think it was like Slash or something. And he was like, nice smash. She's like, I like yours too. He's like, really? She's like, yeah, but it seems like it's less Assassin's Guild, more Sass Guild. And he was like, yeah, but I was thinking it wasn't too much. And she's like, it's like, shut up. He's like, no, you shut up. And it was just like that little back and forth. Then her being on the elevator with Alice and her changing her voice. It's like, you have such a weird voice. She's like, no, people actually give me compliments on my voice. I love the little back and forth they ended up having. And it's like, little girl, and he's just like, oh, bit girl. And then also like her talking about the fact is that she stays hidden in cabinets and stuff like that, watching rich people live their lives, and then she pops out and strangles them. And then Lady Ramkin tries to have a heart-to-heart with her, being like, it's understandable. You go through something so terrible when you're young, seeing it, and you just kind of accept it as it is. But then you realize that it's just like, I'm actually wasting my breath, aren't I? And I love that we never found out what happened, because next time we see like Lady Ramkins walking out I was like, oh, so would you? And then later on we find out that she had stuffed her into like some closet or something. I also thought there was going to be more with that person with the multiple heads, because they're like a guard or whatever, but they easily get knocked out later on by Angua. So that's why I was like, oh, I thought there was going to be something more to that, but apparently not. So you have Lady Ramkin running into the guy who murdered her parents. Obviously, she's supposed to be helping them get in so they can get the Gawain, but her need for revenge takes more priority for her. And obviously, he's amongst the crowd. I love that we got the gathering of everybody, and and the leader, the doctor, she has like she makes a wisecrack, and then no one's sitting laughing, and she's like, laugh, and everyone's laughing. And I felt so bad for Steph, because Steph has got that laugh, and just literally everyone's turning to her as she's laughing, because even home dude that killed Lady Ramkin's parents has like a weird laugh too. But poor Steph, and it's like, what's your name, Steph? What's your code name? And it's like, Bad Steph. You literally took your real name and just put bad in front of it. But then you had Lady Rampkin confronting the guy that killed her parents, which for her, it's like, you look moment, it's like the mask is off and everything, the glasses and everything. It's like, you actually look more like an accountant. He's like, really? I've done like 200 plus murders in the past, past 22 years, 6 months, and 4 days in a row. Is that accountant-y enough? Does that sound accountant-y to you? And she's like, yeah, it does. And because I get where she's coming from, because he does like, what he really looks like, it doesn't scream assassin. It's like, you look like you look like you be the dude that crunches numbers. But obviously, he doesn't even remember her parents. And he's like, well, I guess that makes sense, because it's the sad thing of like, well, they killed so many people. It's like, probably don't remember everyone. Because what was his name? Slash had pointed out that the fact is she had a very old mask. I guess that was like very like old school. Because everyone because we saw Karen, and it looked like Karen had like plastic for her mask. Like, it was on top of like the back of her head and part of her head, and it was like ripped open, I guess, so she could breathe. So it's like we see that everyone has like their own unique mask. But I was like, I'm wondering, was that mask of his like something that was more everyone had it? But now, like, everyone can have whatever mask they want. Maybe, I don't know. There's also that poor guy that ended up getting killed because it turned out he accidentally killed someone from another guild. They referenced it. I forgot what guild it was. Oh, the laundry guild, like, because it was someone, like, for laundering money. I guess. But whatever, it's like, like, they have, even in the Assassin's Guild, they have their rule. Well, I would assume this just applies to the Assassin Guilds and not just any other guild. But, well, it might be guilds in general. It might not just be the Assassin's Guild. Well, because the Assassin Guild's the only one that can really kill anyone, so I'd assume it only applies to anyone. I'm about to say, could any member of a guild not kill another member of the guild? I'm sure you get in trouble for it, but the Assassin's Guild is the only one that, like, has the right to, or can legally kill people if they are hired to do so. But poor bastard ended up getting killed, and it's like, okay, when you break the rules, basically, your name gets released. Like, you lose your anonymity. Your real name's posted up on basically what is essentially your your gravestone, essentially. So they put your real name, your birth, your death day, and everything. And apparently it also, and this was interesting because Wantz ends up pointing it out later on, that you end up having your crimes revealed as well. So I thought that was such an interesting development. But circling back, because I was getting a little too ahead of myself, was Lady Rampkin she's ready to pull the trigger on the guy, but she's hesitating. And then lo and behold, who shows up but Death. And it's like, whoa, are you just going to randomly pop in here and there? He's like, oh, so are you actually going to pull that or not? She's like, I'm not sure. He's like, well, I actually have a schedule to keep. And, I was coming here potentially for him, but then she's like, I wasn't sure whether I was going to shoot or not. He's like, yeah, so let me know whether. I love that him being like I do have a schedule, so I'd rather know whether or not you actually are going to shoot him, because I'd hate to basically be like, go and do my other jobs collecting souls and then come back and it's like, oh, I have to come all the way back here for it. So, make this a little easier for me, which I'm like, I love that you're kind of lazy, Death. So I thought that was fascinating in the long run. But she's asking, it's like, did you carry away my parents' souls and everything? And he's kind of not really answering. He's like, but the fact of the matter is, everyone wants to act like they're more important. Like, do I matter? Yes, I matter. I very much matter. And it's like, it's so interesting. Like, he has to basically build his own confidence because he's like, he feels like no one shows me any respect. And it's so interesting to have Death be like that, kind of insecure like that. That he's like, no, like, I have value. People don't treat me like I do, but it's like, yeah, I am important. I'm not just some schmuck people can push to the side. But because he's like, I'm one of, like, death is one of two sure things in life. And it's like, well, what's the other one? Taxes. Which is interesting because that obviously plays a role in Lady Ramkin's thing, because it turns out the guy that killed her parents might have done it illegally, potentially. Who knows how many crimes he's done off books, but basically they're supposed to report any cash they make from their jobs, and he was making money off the side not reporting it, which obviously the Watch is able to legally go after people for tax stuff. I mean, to be fair, that's how Al Capone got caught. Wasn't it for all the gangster murder stuff? I mean, to be fair, the whole tax evasion falls under that gangster stuff, but still, one thing I loved, it was like, Angela being like, all right, I'm going to track down Lady Ramkin because I know what the perfume she wears or whatever. And then you have Sam pointing out, like, oh, she also wears this too. And then everyone else looks at him almost like, how do you know that? He's like, I think. Angela, you go do your thing, Angela. But at the end of the day, everything they did was kind of for nothing because Gawain wasn't there. It actually had been stolen some time ago. They never actually get specific about when it was stolen, though. But they also find out about Carcer and him watching through Sam. But then there's some feedback where, like, Sam, because basically what connects them is a specific memory of, like, a very important specific memory. And obviously that being, like, the last time they saw each other 20 years ago, the circumstances around Carcer, quote unquote, dying and everything. But the feedback of, basically because they were thinking about the same memory, it kind of created almost like this, I guess, feedback loop would be kind of the term. I could be mistaking in that. So Carcer was kind of talking through Sam, and Sam was kind of talking through Carcer. And it showed Sam something weird. It showed him and Lady Ramkin. And I'm like, because later on, Wants was kind of saying, like, your impulses and stuff like that. So it's like, so it's kind of like that. It shows you your impulses. So it's like, does that mean like that Sam, what he saw was what he wanted, or was it the future? Because that's what I kept saying last episode, that I thought Carcer, like, has been in the future the entire time. But why would he know about Lady Ramkin and Sam and everything? So I think that was more so like maybe because of some future knowledge that Carcer's tapped into, Sam was able to tap into it as well. Or was that simply like, oh, that's kind of like some desire he kind of has on some level, or the whole spell ended up having him peek into his future? I don't know. It seemed like it was more so potentially a future thing, but maybe it's a want thing. Because you can definitely tell, like, there's something where it comes to Lady Ramkin where it seems like he's kind of into her. But at the end of the day, they're making their escape. And I love that Alice ended up following them. And Lady Ramkin just comes over and kicks her in the face. I love Sherry being like, I mean, I know we do some rock and roll stuff, but... And Sam's like kicking a kid in the face. I mean, to be fair, she's not some innocent little girl. I even love Cherry being like, oh, we're being followed by a living doll. They get away and everything. They have the dude arrested because it's like, hey, you did do some off the books, tax related stuff. But then the Assassin's Guild shows up throwing bricks through. It's like, come outside. No, we're outside. Then the second brick comes in. We want you to come outside. We probably should have explained that with the first brick. And then the other one is like, and then the third one comes in. Is like, or we could come inside. But we think, that might be a little less messy. So they're outside, and it's like, oh, you interfering like you should have. It's like, but we legally had right because we found out your guy was doing tax related stuff. But it's like, oh yeah, because Home Dude, leader of the Thieves Guild, hired him to kill me. She's like, he sent people out to hire people to kill me since the beginning. Well, ever since I called him a virgin, and everyone's laughing, haha. She's like, yeah, but he actually is a virgin. It's like, granted, you doing this and exposing all this actually helps me because now he will lose his spot in the council, and that gets me closer to head honcho. Like, the head honcho will be more likely to listen to me. But luckily, because they did join the music guild to go undercover, they are protected because she can't kill them. And it's like, well, Lady Ramkin, where's her instrument? And she begins singing the song that Sam was singing earlier, which I'm wondering what that song is. It has to have some significance. But it's like, she's like, I sung that song because I heard you singing it. She's like, I actually, I really liked it. And then like, when she walks away, Sam's like, she likes it. It's like, he got giddy about it, So you also had the head honcho telling Sam to basically continue his investigation into all of this. I can't give you the official go-ahead. It has to be off the books and kind of low-key, because if the Assassin Guilds find out what you're after, the Sword of Gawain, that this is connected to the dragon and everything, she has their back enough to be like, oh, tax money, we're going to need that extra money because the destruction from this dragon and stuff like that is going to, be paid off by some of those taxes. So we're actually going to need the money. So Sam and the Watch doing what they're doing actually benefits us. Because the Assassin Guild, no one else really knows the ins and outs except for Sam and the Watch and the head honcho he reports to. They're the only ones who are really in the know about everything. But it's like, don't let the Assassin's Guild know that the sword Gawain can be used to control the dragon. Obviously, Carcer's trying to find it because they ended up finding the thief who stole it, or at least their tombstone. But it's like, well, there's no death date, so that person's still out there. They're probably owed at this point. So Carcer's like, it's going to be an old lady we steal it from. But I'm like, well, your circumstances, you're not necessarily owed. You look the same after 20 years. Maybe there's going to be more to that. We'll see, but that's definitely going to be interesting. As I guess I guess I assumed that the noble dragon disappeared, but it's like, no, it's out and about. So I guess it's out doing its thing, but it's like Carcer can't fully control. He needs to control it so he can have it do specific stuff, such as burn a city to ground. I guess other than that, we don't know if it's really doing other stuff or not. There's actually something, too, I should really quickly point out, because it was just kind of in the back of my mind just now. I did like that Def pointed out, like, oh, yeah, like, I'm that Constance in the multiverse. Which is like, yeah, I guess it would make sense that Def would oversee the entire multiverse. I'm like, it's not like every place within the multiverse has its own Def. It's kind of like, I'm Def across the multiverse. Or maybe he wasn't even saying that. Maybe he is saying that, hey, I'm this universe's Def, but their Def itself is a constant all across every universe. It's just, it takes on a different form in each one. And this is me in this world, or maybe he does work across all the multiverse, which is like, damn, that's got to be a tough job. Literally dealing with multiple universes, potentially infinite universes. Anytime there's a Def, you got to go, it's like, I'm sure popping in whenever you want to helps, but I'm obviously, situations like Lady Ramkins this episode being like, so you're not, because I have a tight schedule to keep, so you're going to pull the trigger or not type of thing. So, either way, some interesting stuff. Side note too, I'm curious, is middle fingers just such a foreign concept to them? Because it's like, Cherry was like, yeah, sometimes you got to stick the finger to the man. And then Carrot's like, what man, what finger? And then Cherry was like this. And then later on, when the Assassin's Guild were walking away, when everyone was safe, it's like everyone gave him the fingers. And even Sam gave it to their boss at the end. And she was like, oh, is something wrong with your hands? Like, oh, no, sir. So I don't know if that's supposed to be like something new to them. It makes sense for Carrot because obviously this is all kind of new to him to a certain extent. But I'm like, is that kind of just like a new thing? I don't know what to really expect, what to make of that. But I'm curious what this means, obviously, for the Watch going forward, because obviously they made their first probably ever arrest in the past 20 years. So that's pretty dope, but it's like, I'm sure they're potentially going to do more of that. Plus, once again, they do have to find Gawain's sword before Carcer does, but he's kind of a step ahead of them with all of this. Plus, they're going to have to keep an eye out on the Assassin's Guild, because they're going to be keeping an eye on the Watch, so that's going to be an interesting development. I'm also curious, is any of this going to change Lady Ramkin's mind? Because obviously for her, it's like, yeah, she caught her parents' killer. Granted, it's not probably the lockup that she would want it to be, but I'm sure she still has no plans of wearing a badge, of officially wearing a watch badge. But also note that, like, I thought it was interesting too that she's dropping off Good Boy for Sherry to kind of examine and stuff like that. And I love Sherry being like, oh, I thought those mice I threw in there were actually dead, but they're not. But she's trying to make sure. And also later on, it's like, Sherry, that snake isn't dead. And then it's like, Sam was saying like, oh, we're on top of this. We're actually good at what we do. And it seemed like it basically took all three of them to make sure the snake was dead. Because I think Carrot got bitten at one point in time. He's like, well, at least some of us are. At least, you know what Sam was saying. But regardless, I'm interested to see, where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. To the next time with me, be happy, be safe, light to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.